Acknowledge me.
Leveled by Marvin Constant, the redshirt freshman out of Tuscaloosa.
Oh, they go by now. Let him know he don't want to stop. 65 yards as the ball was thrown away from the line of scrimmage. Gerald Dixon.
Hey, you forgot to see my coach. And proper.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's Tuesday night, your favorite night of the week other than college football. Saturday, the Bama Standard is live on air. Before we get rolling, I want you to do a few things for me. I want you to hit that like and subscribe button like it says on the screen. If you're in the live chat, I expect full participation tonight. Let's ask some questions. Let's get rowdy. Let's get controversial if you can, to a point. If you're watching the replay, get down in the comment section below. Show us some love there. As I said, I'm your host, Justin Riley, and with me, as always, is an all-star crew. But before I introduce them, I got to introduce a sponsor who is responsible for making this cast happen. Limestone Company. Have you ever dreamed of having beautiful natural stone in or around your home? Don't settle for subpar materials. Check out Limestone Company's selection of natural stone products to meet all of your project needs. Limestone is located in Oneonta, Alabama, and is one of the oldest, most-trusted sources in the state. So contact them today. Tell them we sent you by using the promo code the Bama Standard to receive 10% off your first order.
Why do you go through that advertisement like you're on Geritol or something? Put some damn energy with it. My God. Come on, man. Liven up. Make it sound like they selling fiber or colonoscopies or something.
You don't know what they do. They could have an extension of the company that provides for more than one need. Ungrateful.
I'm going to need you to get some more energy when you're reading that from now on.
Steve, we can't get to introduction.
I know, man. Hey, man, listen. Hey, man, let's just ignore this drunken outburst, please. He's still
exactly
drunk from being wherever he went, wherever he claimed he went.
Steve.
Okay, so let's get
to leave Marvin alone. You're not going to talk.
Oh man, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing it.
Folks, we are 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, and it's already gone off the rails. Let me get back to the introduction. He's the undisputed king of comedy. He's everyone's cousin. He's back from touring Costa Rica. And most importantly, he is the star of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Brown.
Man, I am so happy to be back, man. Back to civilization. I got fondled by monkeys and ran up on by iguanas in the pool. They were naked. I was naked. I'm just happy to be back, man. I'm happy to be back. But I don't want to come back to this.
Tell the truth, Steve. You got deported.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that part, but yeah, they found my visa and everything, and now I'm back.
Later segment. And someone who probably got deported as well, but hey, he's a 1999 All SEC linebacker. When Ric Flair said to be the man, woo, you got to beat the man. Ladies and gentlemen, Marvin Constant is still that man.
Hey,
yep, he got deported.
I know y'all missed me last week, but I'm back, baby.
Yeah.
How was Turks, Marvin? How was Turks?
Hey, listen, man. If you have never been to Turks, you should make it your business to go. When I tell you, oh my God, like we had the trip of a lifetime, man. Like
he got deported to Africa. Africa sent him back. We get it. All right,
as soon as he touched down, we do not do that here.
You talk too much. Shut the hell up.
Are y'all done yet?
And we have another man on the panel who is actually back from hiatus as well. Had a little bit of a sabbatical, but he's back and more dangerous and energetic than ever. He is the man who is the lead analyst, senior analyst of the Bama Standard Network, and he's a guy that still keeps Paul Feinbaum gainfully employed. Welcome back, Stephen M. Smith.
Yeah,
well, it's a pleasure to be back. I had my height extension surgery. I'm now over 6 foot.
Hey man, hey, be quiet. Stephen, how do you feel, man? How do you feel?
I feel great, man. No.
I mean, how do you really feel?
I really feel great because in November, Got a baby.
Oh, okay. So the BBL surgery you got went well. It went well.
Actually, it was a nose job.
Hey, Mark, Steven took a leave of absence because he got a BBL.
No, I did not. All natural here.
Steve came back. All natural. He came back with
all natural. My cakes are real.
Hey, man. Let's go on with the show, man. Steven got childbearing hips. Okay,
Did y'all just skate by the announcement he just made? He's having his first child in November.
Congrats.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, I thought you was a virgin. That's what's up, man.
Oh boy. Good to be back here, man. Good to be back.
All right. And
said, let me get these glasses off. You lay down, woman. Let me get these glasses off.
And we have a guest here who's probably second guessing coming on this show, but hey, we at least got him here for an hour. Stephen and Smith, we are known for bringing legends on this platform, and tonight we are doing just that. And there's only one man who can bring him on the right way. You told him in the backstage area about your legendary voice and how you introduce folks. Don't let him down. Stephen M. Smith, tell the folks who we have in the building.
Well, he was coached by two legends, but he made both of them look good. Made both of them look real good. He was coached by Bill Curry. He was coached by also Gene Stallings, the national champion Gene Stallings. This brother right here ushered in big play tight end. And if he played in this era, he would probably be averaging 20 yards a catch.
True.
Keeping it real right there. This brother right here, 108 career catches, 1,332 yards, 6 touchdowns. The 89 season, he was baking DBs. I mean, cooking them out, baking them up, putting them down. We're talking 51 catches, 622 yards, 5 tutties. The brother averaged 13 yards a catch that season, 89. That was a co-SEC championship season, of course. So he ushered in what the tight end is supposed to be. And like I said, if he was playing right now, look out, DBs, because he's coming for your cookies and the milk. He ain't leaving no crumbs on that table. Yeah, the man from Warrior, the real Warrior. That's Lamonde Russell is in here.
Yeah.
Welcome in.
You say I'm from Warrior, that's where I live now, but I'm originally from Aniana, so I better give them a shout out because I'll be in trouble when I go back to visit my family. So originally from Aniana, living in Warrior now.
So you been down at Limestone Company buying stone too?
Well, yeah, actually, when Justin was reading that off, I said that name sounds familiar. So yeah, they're known for the stone up in that area. It's several different companies actually. And Stephen, you must have, Justin, you must have been reading my mind because I was sitting here like, what have I gotten myself into?
8.5 minutes in, do you feel like you're in danger? It's okay.
I just didn't really know what to expect, but so I didn't want to say anything to get y'all censored, so I'm gonna keep it pretty straightforward.
No, be yourself. Say what's on your mind because we sure do.
It sounds like it. I'm learning that real fast.
Quick.
Your former teammates definitely have as well, like George Teague. He'll fire right back at us. Well, man, it's an honor to have you. I've told you on the phone and I told you in the green room that fans have been begging for this opportunity, especially after we had a post not too long ago naming the top 5 tight ends at Alabama according to ChatGPT. Again, I didn't generate the list, but ChatGPT, some reason, left you off. Well, Bama Nation wasn't going to have that. And then they came firing right at me like I did it. But the next thing I was told, get him on. We need to see him. And here you are. We're excited to have you, brother.
Well, like I told you before, I'm surprised, first of all, that that you had that kind of response because I consider myself an old relic and thought people had forgotten about me because it's been 35 years since I was there. So I was flattered to hear you say something like that, and it's a pleasure to join you guys tonight.
And you're still better than Marvin.
Yep. Definitely better than Marvin. Definitely.
Listen, you're not gonna get me into it with one of my own people now. See, what we don't do is infight. We don't take space from other people. So what we're not gonna do, because what you gotta understand is I sold cokes in the stadium watching this man do
So
work.
well, you never should have had drugs on campus. You don't sell coke in the stands, brother. That's wrong.
You are a
That's wrong.
parent.
And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna say this: Lamont, he wasn't better than you, Marvin. He was much better than you. Go ahead, y'all. Go with the show.
Only thing I do know is he's bigger than me, so I'm not gonna say anything.
So you're saying,
but in all seriousness, whenever we have guys on that came before me, one of the things I always like to acknowledge is the work that you all did, and I always like to tell you, for me as a kid, being in Bryant-Denny, selling cokes from 88, 87, 88 up to 93. Yeah. I got to see so much football in that stadium before I ever set foot on it. And I always knew, I said, one day I'm going to play down there. And it happened. But, just to see the work that you all did, and you don't realize how many kids you're inspiring at that age. Not just the ones in the stands, but the ones working as well, selling programs and cokes. Everybody got a dream. So again, just thank you for everything that you did, and you were part of Bama, baby.
Yeah. Well, I'm like you, man. I didn't grow up in Tuscaloosa, but I grew up in Alabama. So I was a huge Alabama fan from when I was a kid. I had 3 older uncles, and they were like father figures to me. I grew up in a single parent home, and so I was naturally influenced by them. And so I pulled for what they pulled for. And it was a dream of mine to play there. So, to realize that dream, I know exactly what you're saying, because I remember the people that I looked up to at that time. And so, I stayed involved through the A Club. I was A Club president, I think, from 2003 to 2005, and of course, have season tickets. So I kept up with the program even after I left. And I remember you playing very well. And it was a fan of yours. And so, just to see that the way that you kept the legacy going and represent yourself in Bama, it's just Bama sci-fi.
All right, no, so Lamont, listen, if you're gonna be on this show, let's be honest. You remember Marvin playing, but not well. Okay, don't do that. You remember him playing, but you ain't got to throw. You on the show now? You here? Whatever. So whatever you want to say and be truthful. Say you just remember him playing.
Steve, clearly your vacation was horrible because you came back in a bad mood. I don't know.
No, he's joyous.
I'm joyous. I'm fine. I don't even have no. Listen, I don't even have no bottoms on for my vacation. I'm still fine.
He's a delight.
I'm great. I'm over here Winnie the Pooh right now. I'm good. I'm great. I'm great. My vacation.
All right, so we're going to get to Lamont's career, and I can't wait to talk about it. But we have something to address first, and I know it's a dead season in terms of media, but I guess Florida State quarterback Thomas Castellanos felt like that he needed to provide a soundbite, and he had to be seen. Well, you're seen, you're heard, and tonight you're going to hear from us. So those of you who are under a rock, let me kind of fill you in. He recently sat down with Pete Nakos from On3 and first started out on a high note saying it's always been his dream to play against Alabama. But then is where he stuck his foot in his mouth, as many former opponents have done, and it's been very detrimental to their career after that. He went on to say, they don't have Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me. So here on the Bama Standard, we're going to address this as we do all issues. And I think we have a great panel tonight that can let Mr. Castellanos know exactly how us and Bama Nation feels. And I'm going to nominate one of the most fiery guys on this panel to start us out, and that's Marvin Constant. Then I'm going to let Steve Brown go, and Lamont's going to go after that, and Stephen M. Smith will back it up.
Let's make it happen.
Well, the thing about it, when I seen the comments, first and foremost, all I could think back to was Castellano played at Boston College, correct?
Right.
Yes. Before going to Florida State. So he's been playing in the ACC his entire career, right?
No, yes. He was at UCF first, then transferred to Boston College, then transferred to Florida State.
Okay, so even worse. All right, so what I'm saying is He has been playing in subpar football conferences to this point in his career, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Now, I don't think he truly understands what's about to be unleashed upon him. And if I were on a team that had the season that they had last year, I probably would shut up until we won some games. And I definitely wouldn't be poking the bear at Alabama because it's still Alabama. Make no mistake about it. When you look back at the history and you look at all the national championship won through all the decades, so people say all day it was Coach Saban, but there were other coaches who won national championships outside of Coach Saban. It is Alabama football, and nothing is going to change that. Not the portal, not NIL, none of the above. It is still Alabama football. And listen, what my coach always tells me, do not give the other team bulletin board material. Brother, you just gave that defense all they wanted and then some. So, again, I hope he's prepared for what's coming because he's about to be introduced to real college football.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to back you up on that, Marvin. Listen, number one, how many people did we get to go to the transfer portal? None. How many defensive players are back? Like 8, right? 8 starter pretty much. So they pretty much know the system now. And I know they remember what Vanderbilt's quarterback did to them. So I'm thinking that they're going to hit his ass coming out of the locker room. They ain't going to even wait to get to the field. They're going to punish him swiftly. They're going to do it in a hurry. And I feel like he's going to be – because trust me, that is the ultimate bulletin board material for a team like Bama. Bama already got a chip on their shoulder, number one. Yes, sir.
Hey, Steve, sometimes it's not right. It's not fair. But I know there's been several times, I know in games that I played in, where defensive players are willing to take a 15-yard penalty early in the game to make a statement. I wouldn't be surprised if I seen it early in this game.
Hey, and don't be surprised. This will probably make my point here. And don't be surprised if it's Quay Russo that do it.
Yeah. So I think they are going to punish this guy, and I think they're going to punish the whole team. So if I was Florida State's coach, I would be upset with this guy. I really would. So we'll see what happens, man. But I believe I think Bama's going to come out fiery, and they're going to really fire up on the whole team, especially him. That's what I'm waiting to see.
Lamont, we're in a social media age where nothing is kept quiet at all. And it gets magnified a million times. And I'm sure you didn't have anyone on your team that would have thrived in the social media area, right?
No, that's not so. We had some characters on the team. So, yeah, I'm sure they would have been as brash as this young man was. But I'm like Marvin said, I came up with a coach, that said you don't give the other team bulletin board material. So it's just not in my nature to talk that trash, especially in public like that. And, so I'm like Stephen Brown that I'm sure the coach can't be happy because coming off the kind of year they had last year, I'm pretty sure he would like to stay under the radar until they start winning some games and start getting some momentum back going again. So I'd be interested to know what the coach said to him afterwards.
But the thing about it, when you make that kind of statement, you put so much pressure on yourself because you go out there and you drop an egg and you get wore out. Everybody's going to go back to that statement you made, and they're going to say, what happened?
No, they're going to say dummy.
Right, but you have to be mindful of the expectations that you set for yourself prior to the season, prior to games, because the last thing you want to do is write a check that you can't cash because, again, you still got to play the game.
But common sense would tell him maybe he was –
Some football players are not the sharpest knife in the drawer. If y'all hadn't figured that out.
Well, you proved that. Listen, so what I'm trying to say is you ain't won a game. Why are you coming out talking smack? You ain't won nothing. So I don't understand that. Steve, they hadn't won anything.
They haven't. And let's look at his career at Boston College. He was actually benched last year. So how does a player who was benched mid-season because he wasn't performing up to expectations all of a sudden become the pick-me girl of college football demanding attention? Play stupid game, get stupid prizes, and there's a big present waiting when Alabama comes to Tallahassee. Steven, what do you think?
The biggest thing he needs to do right now is pick up the phone and have a conversation with one DeAndre Francois. because Francois will tell him, hey, Playboy, I wasn't even talking about Bama back in 2017. My head coach, Jimbo Fisher, and our school president put their foot in their mouth saying how they were going to take down Bama, and I get Ronnie Harrison's helmet in my knee, and I'm out for the rest of the whole game. I didn't even say nothing. That was my head coach and my president opening their mouth at the wrong time, and guess who paid the price? Me, the quarterback, who didn't say a word. So if I'm Thomas, I'll be having a phone conversation with DeAndre Francois, and Francois is going to tell him, you idiot, shut up. I didn't say nothing, and I got killed by Ronnie Harrison, Reuben Foster, and the Goons. Wow. And here come Kane Womack, who's about to unleash the opposite of Goons because you said something.
And so Justin, you say he was benched where?
At Boston College this previous season.
Yeah, and he was also benched at Tennessee. but he ain't played for Tennessee. I just wanted to sound important. I wanted to sound
that was very, very powerful, Steve. I love your delivery sold it actually.
Well, here's the thing. I watched the kid play last year. I can't remember when they were playing Florida State. That game was a back and forth game. He actually played a halfway decent game, but then after you look at the tail of tape of Florida State season and you realize they weren't the team that everybody thought they were going into the season, it makes you question and wonder, how good of a job did he really do, playing against a subpar Florida State team? So now you beat this team and you go join them. I don't get the logic in it. I would never leave. That was worse than a lateral move, if you ask me, because here's the thing about it. Since Florida State played in that game against Georgia, they hadn't won much of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a sinking ship, and I don't know how they're going to right it. So, again, talking trash at this juncture, I mean, come on. That's the last. No.
Yeah. I didn't realize that he was benched there. So, this says to me there must not have been any good quarterbacks out there that Florida State could get if they got to go get somebody that was benched for a previous team. Like you said, Marvin, they're in a conference really where, that they level of competition is not all that great compared to the SEC and some of the other conferences.
Well, you look at that, and then you look at this. Look at Florida State's choices lately. Who did they go get last year?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
DJ Uiagalelei.
Yeah.
DJ State. Right.
Yeah.
Trash.
Yeah, his play was Uiagalelei.
So clearly they have a history of going to pick up trash. So I guess they're continuing that trash collection because I don't see Castellanos coming in and making that kind of impact, especially not to the point where he's comfortable enough to be talking trash.
Well, I'm interested to see the marriage between Castellanos and Gus Malzahn because that's the prototypical quarterback for a Malzahn system. Now, he may elevate him, but again, Marvin, goes back to you haven't played a down for Florida State. There's not a snap that's been taken. You've accomplished nothing on the field there, so don't say a word until you can put something on your resume.
Well, he hadn't accomplished much in college football.
He really hadn't.
And the fact that you said something that got Danny Cannell talking with common sense, that's the best. You got Danny Cannell talking with common sense.
So what did Cannell say?
Cannell literally said, this dude done stirred up a hornet's nest. I had Bobby Bowden as my coach, and Bobby Bowden used to say, don't you give them no type of ammo. Shut up. The man that stirred up a hornet's nest.
Well,
here's the thing about it. When you look at the overall statement that he made, Nick Saban is not coming to save them. It's like you're saying that since Coach Saban left, Alabama football is no longer Alabama football. So now you've put the challenge out to them to prove that it's still Alabama football.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
So be careful when you challenge people, because when you challenge the wrong one, they're gonna respond.
Well, you know what? I gotta play the devil's advocate now. You mentioned Gus Malzahn. Mm-hmm. Gus Malzahn's offense can give people fits.
It can
give people fits. So but I believe so. This is a job for Kane Womack. He's gonna have to really perform. He's gonna have to really shut some stuff down. So it remains to be seen. But the thing is, I believe that the guys are gonna be really locked in, and I think they're gonna punish him.
Lamont, if one of you guys would have pulled a stunt like this, whether it was with Coach Curry, who we've had on this program before, or Coach Stallings, What would the response have been from either of those guys?
Well, my opinion is I don't know if they would have benched us. It just depends on how severe it was, but we would have definitely done some early morning running. Yeah, yeah, and some early morning drills, and something to put a bad taste in your mouth to where you think twice before you open in your mouth talking trash like that again.
But you guys, y'all could back up what you said. Let's go ahead and put that out there. I mean, you had a squad.
Yeah, well, we had some good players and some dogs, but again, it wasn't all about being a great athlete. It was about carrying yourself with class too.
Sure, I absolutely agree.
And one of the things that you have to take into account when you look at this game, Alabama's defense last year was often torched in a lot of situations. A lot of times they were out of place. They struggled with adjustments. It just didn't look like what we're used to seeing in terms of Alabama football. So this is year 2. With it being year 2, they're going to be on a mission to clean up last year's work.
Yeah. Right.
They're going to be on a mission to clean up last year's work. And again, with them returning all the pieces that they're returning, I mean, they're primed to have an amazing season statistically, as well as just when you look at the overall body of work.
I believe that.
I would not be poking the bear on that much talent because there's still a gang of 4 and 5 stars in Tuscaloosa right now.
Yeah.
And that young secondary that got torched last year, Marvin, they've grown significantly.
They've upgraded this time.
They're a bunch of young guys who were new to the whole SEC play, the big stage. And you had guys who came in who weren't used to playing with each other, like Keon Sabb. Well, about mid-season on, all of a sudden, Bray Hubbard comes into the lineup. That switch goes off, and that secondary is arguably the best secondary in the SEC and probably one of the best in the nation. So year 2, I'm looking forward to what these guys are going to put on the field.
And then Justin, you add back into the picture of Jason Jones, who has played at Alabama. He's coached at Alabama before, and now he's back working with the safeties. You pair him with Coach Mo Linguist with the corners. Now Coach Mo has a year of experience with Damani Jackson, with Xavier Brown, with these guys. That secondary is going to be lethal.
Absolutely.
I tell you, I'm a big Hubbard fan. I was like, where did this kid come from?
Me too.
He finds that ball and he will lay his hat on you. I'm like, man, that boy can play.
Yeah, he's really good. I like him. I'm a Bray Hubbard fan.
Does he, Lamont? Does he remind you a little bit of John Mangum? Because I see a lot of Mangum's game coming out in Bray Hubbard as well.
He does, but it appears I don't remember meeting Hubbard in person, but he seems like he was bigger than John. So yeah, I mean the same toughness and being a ball hawk and athleticism, but I think he carries a bigger punch because of his size. Yeah,
sure, absolutely. And we're about to get to your time. Before I do that, I want to talk about our other sponsor. Listen, we are 67 days away from kickoff in Tallahassee, and the only way to support the Crimson Tide this season is to get your own title towel. Go to www.whitwillsports.com today after the show, of course, and order your title towel. Enter the promo code STANDARD. You get a nice discount courtesy of your favorite network, the Bama Standard Network. That's right, folks. Get your title towel. The season is just days away. whitwillsports.com.
And let me say this: a title towel also it really, really sheds a lot on a lot of things, because I washed it with my white clothes, and my white clothes are now pink. But yeah,
real men wear pink, Steve.
Yeah. I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you, title towel. I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah.
All right, let's turn the stage to our guest, Lamont. Again, we're excited to have you here. We're going to brag about you a little bit, if you don't mind. And I know the panel's got a lot to talk about, games to talk about. I got a few I've circled. But one thing I want to start out on is a lot of Alabama fans are kind of getting adjusted to the changing of the guard here recently with Nick Saban and then Kalen DeBoer coming in after him. And they don't quite understand the adjustments that take place and what goes on beyond the scenes. It's layered. A lot of things go on, and it can affect production on the field. It can affect a lot of things until you kind of solidify it. but no one knows better than you what that's like. You started out at Alabama with Ray Perkins. He was there for a cup of coffee and then decided to go over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Correct. And then Bill Curry comes in for 3 years, does a very good job there. And some of the games we're going to talk about was under his regime. And then you finish things up with Gene Stallings. You did a lot of great things at Alabama, but how were you able to do all that but still navigating through constant change, coordinators, coaches? What was that like for you?
Well, one thing I prided myself in as an athlete, I played football, basketball, and baseball, and ran track in high school because, that's all we had to do was play sports in Oneonta because, we didn't have a bowling alley, a movie theater, or anything else. So, that's what we did to have fun. And so I've always considered myself very coachable, though, because actually I went to Alabama as a receiver and I moved to tight end after my redshirt freshman year. I only weighed 196 pounds, and the heaviest I ever got playing weight was 205. So I had to be coachable. I had to, have proper technique and to give myself a fighting chance when it came to trying to block bigger guys on the line of scrimmage. So, I was coachable, and I've just always been a versatile athlete. So, and I'm just a laid-back, easy person to get along with. So I just followed instructions from the coaches and stayed out of trouble and just applied myself to my craft.
I like
Being that you were such a great athlete and all, what would Lamonde Russell look like playing in 25?
Yes.
With these spread offenses and
Yes.
all, what would that look like for you?
Yeah. It's not just a spread off because I always said that Homer Smith was my main offensive coordinator under Bill Curry, and we kind of spread the field out back then. So we were kind of running a spread offense even before they called it spread offense. And I don't know if you remember, he actually came from the West Coast. He coached at UCLA. Was the head coach at I think Army for a while. Of course, they don't run the spread offense; they run that option up there. But we were kind of running the spread before then. So I think that is one of the reasons why I was so successful at Alabama, being a smaller tight end that was formerly a wide receiver. It was just hard for, strong safeties and linebackers to stay with me because I had the quickness to get open.
All right. Now being a smaller tight end, a lot of times you might have been in a situation where you had to block on that edge.
Hey, this question coming from a linebacker, defensive guy. Yeah.
You're right. Tell me about that time that you were blocking on that edge and they gave you that ooh-wee because it happens, boy.
Yeah.
And who was it?
I can't remember I think his name was Tony Bennett. I just remember they called him Gator Bennett. Played for Ole Miss. Oh, that's right. You were from Mississippi, Justin.
Yes, sir.
I remember we were playing them over here. It's the game where they got up on us 21-0 in the first 5 minutes. And then we came back and won like 62-28. But, man, that joker was hitting me in the mouth and knocking me behind the line of scrimmage. And so we had another tight end named Charlie Abrams who was from Demopolis, and he was bigger and stronger than me. So I remember going over to the sideline and say, Charlie, I can't get it, man. Why don't you get in there and try it? Yeah, that answer came to mind real quick because I tell that story all the time. And that joker was like hitting a daggone brick wall. Yeah.
So question. You said sometimes you were matched up against safeties and linebackers. All right. Yeah. So you going on the fly route, right? You going, and Marvin Constant is guarding you. Is that an automatic touchdown?
Well, you keep
yes,
trying to
it is. Yeah, it is. You ain't got to answer that.
He already told you we don't fall for the okie doke.
It's a touchdown. You ain't even got to answer, sir. Don't even worry about it. Yes, it's a touchdown. Next question, somebody. Next question.
Well, I was confident if I was one-on-one with anybody, I could get open.
No. I ain't saying anybody. I said Marvin.
I can mute him. You're in a safe place, Lamont. I can mute him.
Yeah. I'm used to watching Marvin Lord of Boom on people. I wasn't watching his pass coverage still, so I can't honestly answer that question.
There you go.
I'll answer for you. Hell
Lamont, you're being modest because you're talking about trying to block bigger guys and how Tony did what he did to you against Ole Miss. You obviously learned because I fast forward to the Tennessee game. You laid the wood on some folks who were pursuing Saran Stacy, and I think they made some life decisions that day after you.
Well, they probably didn't see me coming. I got them by the element of surprise. It's because they didn't see me coming. If I lowered the wood on anybody,
You did, and it sprung Saran for a touchdown, so it was clear.
Well, it's funny because Howard Cross was the starting tight end when they first moved me over to that position. So I didn't start my first year and a half or 2 years. And Howard, the coach from LSU, I forget his name, but he made the comment that they feared Howard Cross more on the toss sweep than they did Bobby Humphrey. Because Howard was going to have that defensive end 5 yards down the field on skates. And so they would just tell me, they say, Lamont, just don't let him come across the line of scrimmage. So they were just happy if I got a stalemate, just don't let them come across the line of scrimmage. They didn't care if I blocked them 5 yards down the field, which I'm glad they didn't care because I probably wasn't going to be able to.
Have you ever had a clean block on somebody and you were about to take their head off, but they got you anyway? Because I remember in the 7th grade, I was
Steven,
but this was at band camp. This was at band camp. Listen,
you thought you was gonna hit the tuba, man?
And he rang my cymbals.
One band, one sound.
I don't want to get into it.
Now, I don't have a situation, Steve, to where I thought I was going to get somebody and they got me, but I was running a drag route across the middle against Florida, Steve Spurrier's first year there. And it was just a simple little 5-yard drag route across the middle. And as soon as that ball hit my fingertips, boy, that linebacker laid me out. And I was laying there on the turf, it seemed like, for 5 minutes trying to catch my breath. And I actually have a picture of that, too. So Gary Hollingsworth was my quarterback, and he's standing over me asking me if I was all right. I was like, hell no.
Steven.
Why, Gary? Why? Hey, I remember that happened in the game with Bama when Marvin was playing. Receiver came across the middle, and he hit Marvin. And I'm like, damn, Marvin, you could have hit him. And Marvin on the turf. I'm like, damn.
Now that never happened, but we were playing Florida one year, and they had a tight end by the name of Aaron Kinney. I think Aaron was about 6'6", 6'7", about 280, 290.
God.
I ran over there with everything I had. I hit him. He didn't budge. He didn't move. I tell you, I hit him with everything. But man, he got 6'6", 6'7", like 280.
280?
Yeah.
That's a big dude.
Steven?
What weight did you play at, Marvin?
245. Nowhere near 280. I was out, man.
Yeah.
But Lamont, just the conversations you had with Homer Smith as your OC, what did he see in you early that had you believing I can really make some noise in this offense? What was kind of that conversation, that relationship y'all two had that really got you flowing in that offense?
Well, I think he knew that I was elusive because I didn't know this until years later, but he referred to me as Roger Rabbit just because I could stretch and I was elusive. And, he would make comments like, just get it close, Lamont, to come up with it, that kind of stuff. And then he knew that I was, like I said, very coachable. And so, I ran my exact routes. And that's what allowed me to, to block guys that were much bigger than me is, I would come off the ball, keep the proper spacing with my feet so I wouldn't get off balance and hit with the right shoulder and get my head on the right side, those kind of things.
Lamont, I mentioned earlier, you're a part of some pretty big games, some classics, and 3 jump off the page. The win against Ole Miss, when we were down 21-0, but we came back 48 unanswered points. And then I can look at the game against Penn State, Eli Gold's first call, and my gosh, it was beautiful.
I did not realize that.
Yes, that was his first season at Alabama. And then we also can look at that circus that was the Tennessee game in 1989. Back and forth until there was just too much Bama. Out of those 3, what was your favorite game to play? Because you shined. I mean, Tennessee didn't want to know parts of you, and you let them know.
Yeah.
Penn State, you did the same.
Yeah, I had a good game. I know in the Tennessee game, Penn State game, and what was the other one you mentioned? The Ole Miss game?
The Ole Miss game.
Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot in that game, even though it was a crazy game. I think I had 1 catch in that game, so I really didn't have that big of an influence on it. But that Tennessee game was big, but probably the Penn State game playing up there. I can remember we were up 17-16, I think is what the score was. And their running back they just kept handing the ball off to him, and we just couldn't stop him. And actually on the play before we blocked that field goal, he should have walked into the end zone, but I think he tripped over his own man's leg or something and fell right on the 2-inch yard line. And so they decided to kick the field goal, on third down. And I can just remember being over on the sideline. I took my helmet off and I was down on one knee on about the other 30-yard line away from where they were kicking it. And I was like, man, I said, I just remember growing up seeing all these fantastic finishes, in the wonderful wide world of sports and this kind of stuff. I said, how come that can't happen to us? And about that time, I heard boom, and then I heard another boom when Thomas Ram blocked it. And so, yeah, we went crazy and got a 15-yard penalty. But all we had to do was take a knee and run the last 10 seconds off the clock. So that was a really exciting win, and it was a fun plane ride home.
I'm sure it was.
Strippers and everything.
Steve, what you got? And then we go to Steven and then Marvin.
What was that?
Steve Brown, you're up, sir.
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm just enjoying the stories, man. Marvin, you're up. Go ahead, brother.
All right. So when again, you've been very close to the program over the years, so you understand the expectations of Alabama football. You understand the game of football itself, as a whole. So when you look at Alabama's current group, tight ends, who stands out to you, and what things do you think this group may or may not need to work on?
Well, actually, I'm not sure who, because you had what was the guy's name last year? Was it Dupree, number 81?
NFL, yeah.
He moved on. Who? I don't even know.
Robbie Oops and Dupree.
Yeah,
who's that?
Yeah, they're gone. Oops is in the pros now, I think.
Yeah, he's in Seattle.
Yeah, both are.
But you have Josh Cuevas, who's definitely showed up, and he's going to be.
I'm not too familiar with the young guys that are coming up, so I guess that'll be a position for me to watch this year. I remember Cameron Latou just came up, and he wore number 81 like I did, and a lot of people say he looked like me in the jersey. But again, I wish I had his size.
You know what? I think he was underutilized too. I really believe that he was underutilized.
Absolutely.
Wasn't he a defensive guy that moved? They moved him to tight end.
Yeah, he was a linebacker.
Linebacker.
And then I was familiar with the Dupree kid and the outs kid, so I'm not that familiar at that specific position that's coming up. So I guess it's wide open for whoever wants to step up and take it. Yeah,
a lot of young guys coming. That you hit it nail on the head. So there's opportunity there. Cuevas is the undisputed tight end one. It's just who's going to be the other guys who are going to step up.
Yeah, but I'm looking for them to have a marked improvement this year, because people are asking me here, especially with the season being so close, what I think we're going to look like this year. And some of the players had to adjust to the SEC, but I think the coaches did too. They came from Washington and out west, and you can hear about the SEC all you want, but until you play in it week in and week out, I think Coach DeBoer is a smart guy, and I think he'll make the adjustments mentally and probably game plan wise when the season gets started. And I'm looking for them to have a lot more consistent year this year, because we were up and down last year.
Well, with that statement, I don't know how familiar you are with the current OC who's there now. I don't want to call any names, but looking at last year's body of work versus who's here now as the OC. What do you think the biggest difference in the offense will be?
I think familiarity with the overall coaching staff, because he was supposed to be the man, and the fans were all excited. I was at one of the preseason functions, where they introduced the coaches, and he was one of the ones. And then I think maybe a week or two after that is when they announced he was leaving. And so he's been in with Coach DeBoer for a while, because when he not with him at Indiana. So
Fresno State.
Fresno State. Okay. And so, they got years of experience together, and, I just look for him to be a more calming effect and maybe make better calls under pressure. So, I'm definitely looking for the offense to be more consistent.
I'm looking for better game planning and in-game adjustments.
Yeah.
It seemed like a lot of times when teams stopped what we were doing last year, we just kept doing it. It's like we're not even going to attempt to deviate. We're not going to come up with anything.
But Mark, even on defense too. On defense,
right? I'm like, get the chalkboard out. Let's draw up. Give me a stick. Let me draw.
Whoa! Did you say chalkboard? That was when Bob Bryant was. Don't Damn, chalk.
Give me the dry erase board. Give me a stick. Let me draw.
Get that.
Right,
Get the iPad out.
Yeah, get that.
Listen. Sometimes you might have to draw it up in the dirt. I mean, because again, a lot of times it seemed like we were being killed at the point of attack, and we did nothing to make adjustments. And it's like we were gonna will ourselves to win the game. The wheel only goes so far. At some point, you got to scheme and game plan and make adjustments.
Yeah. Put yourself in the proper position to be successful. Yeah. I agree with you 100%.
Stephen, can I ask before you go?
Go ahead.
So, you're a part of the A Club, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been a part of the A Club several times, and because several times they kicked me out. It's my fault. But listen, the next time I join, can you just ask them to write me a letter or something? Don't just kick me out. Write me a letter,
Give us some dignity.
me, suspend me or something. But don't just do it with dignity. Don't just kick me out.
Yeah.
Just talk to the people.
Does the crime fit the punishment?
It does. I'm just saying. This is me.
Unapologetically him.
Yeah, this is me. Now, whatever they say, I did it. But I'm just saying, I did all of it, every last bit of it. But I'm just saying, write me a letter. Don't just put me out there like that.
But come on, going back to just the 89 season, what set up just so right for you that year? I mean, you leading the team in receiving. The team goes on to be the SEC co-champion. But what was about that offseason and then that season that really set the table for you to have the year that you had?
I guess it starts with the off season. We always had what we call lower gym. I don't know if y'all were still doing that. Marvin, when you were there, it might have called it fourth or fifth quarter or something like. I know that's what Coach Saban called that, I think. But we had lower gym where we always had to go down to the gym below the main basketball gym in the Coliseum. And they would turn the heaters up and they would put garbage cans in every corner because guys were going to be throwing up. And we just go down there and do drills nonstop for an hour.
Wow.
So I think it started in the weight room and with the off-season program. And then, putting in the extra work, doing the passing scales and the 7-on-7s that we had to do ourselves because the coaches couldn't be on the field, at certain time frames. And so we just put that time in as a unit on offense, and just the camaraderie we had. I think we had a very close-knit team. Back then we still had Bryant Hall, so everybody lived in the dorm. We were playing spades, playing video games, just always doing stuff together. And we just had a closeness. And once we got started during the season, just each week kept building on itself, And I think that winning that Penn State game, kept the momentum going and helped elevate us through the rest of the year. And then, we finished 10-0 and we're number 2 in the country. And that's the first time we ever played at Auburn. So, I still have a bad taste in my mouth from losing that game. But, it was, even though we lost the game, that's probably one of the more memorable games that I played in, but just because of the energy that was in that stadium. I think somebody had said that, they had been trying to get that game down there for years, but Coach Bryant told them we'd never play at that Cal College. And so I think he literally said that. And so, he said we would never play down there. But then it was Coach Curry was coaching us when we eventually went down there and played him in '89. And I think I remember him saying, well, we'll play him anywhere. We'll play him in the parking lot of A&P, which, that grocery store ain't even around anymore. Yeah.
Right.
And so, it meant a lot to their fans to get that game down there. And I mean, it was just nonstop noise and energy. First time I've ever come out for warm-ups and the stadium was completely packed and people were standing on the little spiral walk areas that you come down after the game. It was completely packed, 30 minutes before the game when we were warming up. And so even though we lost, that game has always left an impression on me. But and then we ended up losing the Sugar Bowl that year to Miami in a close game. Relatively close. I don't think they were giving up about 8 points a game that year, and I think we scored 25 on them. Had a couple of bad calls, I think, in that game that went against us that helped them beat us, or we'd have had a better chance of winning that game. So we finished 10-2, but it was still a special year.
It always got to be a bad call. Somewhere.
Yeah. Well, there was I've watched the game back. There was a play where we tackled their running back and he fumbled the ball while he was still standing up, but it was a pile. So I guess the officials couldn't really see it. And we got the ball, but they gave it to them and they ended up getting a touchdown on that drive. And then I don't remember if you remember Randall Hill. They had their very outspoken receiver that they had that was really good. I think he was number 3.
Yeah.
Talking about Keith McCants, man, that boy, he was a big boy and he was a big hitter, but Keith could run. And Randall got loose on a pass down the sideline, and Keith McCants ran him down and tackled him, and he fumbled the ball, and they gave it back to him, and they ended up getting 7 points on that drive too. So, it's always a what if when you look back in hindsight, but I do feel like if we get the turnovers on both of those plays, it might have ended up differently, but. Hey, like I said, that's 35 years ago.
That's amazing.
You can't tell it still hurts, can you?
Not at all. You clearly moved on. You healed.
Any Bama loss hurts. Any Bama hurts.
But Miami ended up being the national champion that year because I think it was Notre Dame and Colorado was good back then. Oh, yeah, I think it was Notre Dame and Colorado. Whichever team was number 1. They were playing in the Fiesta Bowl, I think. But whichever team was number 1 got beat, and then which opened the door for Miami to slot back in there, and they ended up being the national champions that year. But we got retribution 2 years later in '92.
Sure did.
Yeah.
You helped build that. Man, you talk about Keith McCants, someone as big as he was, absolute freak. He was in coverage. He was guarding receivers, and you look at him, you're like, how in the world are you able to do that? That being said, you went against arguably some of the best defenses in college football playing in the SEC, but also in practice, you go up against guys like Keith, Willie Wyatt, Ephraim Thomas, who needs more flowers than what he gets, John Mangum, George Teague. Who was that guy you went up against in practice that you went to blows with, but he made you better?
Believe it or not, man, I couldn't believe how hard this boy's head was. And that was Lemansky Hall.
Yeah.
he wore number 11, man. Every time I come off the ball and hit that boy at practice, man, I would have a headache. I got to where I ain't want to hit him, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Lemansky was tough, and he probably didn't get the amount of flowers he probably should have got at the time he was there. But he was on that defense when they were so good in '92.
Lemansky Hall, I remember him.
My God, Ski. I need to call Ski.
Yeah, he's at Vanderbilt now, I think, in player personnel or something like that. He left Clemson a couple of years ago. Yeah, he's up at Vanderbilt now.
So wait a minute. So it's Ski's fault that we lost last year?
I knew it.
Could be.
Man.
He was there.
Hey, you had a close call against Vandy in '89, but you still won.
We had a lot of close calls against Vanderbilt. It seemed like every year we played them, they gave us a run for our money, and we would just pull it out at the end. But they actually, the last time they had beat us before, I think last year, I was a senior in high school being recruited. And I was actually at that game as a recruit when they beat us in Tuscaloosa back in '85, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you've already mentioned Bray Hubbard's on your radar, but who is the other player on the current team right now that you're ready to see take that next step?
Yeah, I hate he got hurt toward the end of the season. It looked like he blew his knee out on a fleet accident. But what's number 0's name?
Deontay Lawson.
Yeah, I like him. That boy, he's a stud, man. He's an athlete, and he can cover from sideline to sideline. So I'm hoping he's back 100% from his knee injury.
I've seen him miss too many tackles.
Oh, dude.
I like my guy number 15.
Jefferson.
You like who?
Jefferson. He is a
number
15. To me, he is a true middle linebacker. I've just seen number 0 miss too many tackles. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, he's an athlete. He can cover, but he got to step up in that hole and hit some people. But Justin Jefferson, he is a thumper. He's a thumper. So. Yeah. What's
the kid's name? The defensive lineman that came over from Texas A&M. He's back, isn't he?
LT Overton, yes,
yeah,
sir.
Overton,
Okay. Yeah. I'm looking for him to take it to another level this year.
All right. So what we're going to do now is have a little rapid fire before we let the audience ask a few questions. And I want you guys on the panel to be thinking about what you want to ask Lamonde. I'll start us out. I'll go to Stephen M., Marvin, and then Steve. So, Lamonde, what was, I guess, more impactful to you? Your first touchdown in 1988 versus Southwest Louisiana in front of the home crowd, basically, in Legion Field, or beating Auburn and snapping that 5-game losing streak your senior year?
Man, it has to be beating Auburn because, it sounds like you've done your homework to know that was my first touchdown.
I told you, man. I remember stuff.
But, yeah, so I don't know. There was an interview, I think it was Channel 42 here in Birmingham. They interviewed me after we won that game, and I was like, man, I'm so glad we beat them. So I cannot go home to Aniana saying I'm 0-5 against Auburn. And so, yeah, that was some very disappointing times in the Iron Bowl because, like you said, going into my senior year, I was 0-4 against them. I got redshirted, so I had that 5th year. So I would have hated to have left there saying I never beat them, but, I'm not too proud saying I was 1-4 against them, though. So, but, so definitely winning that Auburn game.
All right. Steven.
The incredible rapid fire. Going back down there. Who would you take? Dreamland or Archibalds?
Man.
He took Steve.
You took my question. Go ahead.
I really don't have much experience with Archibalds, to be honest with you. I love me some Dreamland. And I think I may have eaten an Archibald once or twice, but I might have just gotten the chicken instead of the ribs. But this is a true story. Every year when it was time to recruit and have the recruits on campus, I always volunteered to be a player host. Every Friday I would go to Dreamland, and then every Saturday I would go to Cypress Inn. So I volunteered just so I could get that, that meal on the weekend. And I still love Dreamland today. So I'd have to say Dreamland, my personal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marvin?
All right, being from a small town, going to Tuscaloosa, playing in Bryant-Denny, that is like no other environment in college football. I mean, there are some that are close, but did you ever feel like the moment was too big for you, being from a small town?
Early on, I'm glad I needed a red shirt year myself because I needed to adjust. Like you said, going from a stadium that probably held 2,500, 3,000 people to one that at the time when I first got to Tuscaloosa, that one still only held 60,000 because they hadn't put the upper decks up yet. They put, I think, the west side up around 88 or so. So it wasn't nowhere near the size what it is now. But I can remember the very first game, even though I knew I wasn't going to play, I got to travel and go to New York they called it the Kickoff Classic back then. That's when we beat Ohio State up there.
Yeah.
And so just, being in uniform and running through the tunnel on game day, and like I said, just looking up around at the stadium, just, just having that feeling of chills and coming out in the stadium that size, even though, like I said, I knew I wasn't going to play because I was redshirted, you still can't take away that feeling.
Okay, so you know what? I was going to ask you that. What was it like your first time running out of the tunnel? What was what was it like? Because I remember when I broke out of juvenile detention center and we came out of a little tunnel under. We didn't get all that, but yes, it was like a refreshing. Tell us about it. What was your first time?
That was it. That was the first time I've ever run out of the tunnel. Now I don't remember the first time I come out.
Home game.
No, was that
a home game?
A home game?
Yeah, home game.
I think the first time I got to dress out there was that same year. Later in the year, I think we played Temple at home for homecoming. And so Coach Perkins let all of the freshmen just dress out for that game. And but, I had already had that initial feeling of running out in Giant Stadium when we played in that kickoff classic. But again, we know we was just getting a dress out as a treat, and I wasn't a part of the game plan. But just being in uniform and being out there and just thinking about all the times, so like I said, I watched games on TV and going to games that were at Legion Field and standing on the fence and just dreaming of being out there one day, and just knowing that dream was a reality, even though I probably wasn't going to play much for another year or two.
The crazy part about that running out of the tunnel, I don't remember running out of the tunnel ever for any game. because I was always so focused and locked in.
Yeah.
I don't remember running out of tunnel ever. I just know I was playing football.
Yeah. Well, I was always in the back. You know, we had certain guys that like to be up front and be the first ones out, and I'd let them run on out, and I was always bringing up the rear. But like you, I was just focused on, you know, what the game plan was and what we were about to do on the first drive.
I was always in the back as well. Listen, last one out, looking at that last little bit of whatever I had to look at, and again, I really don't remember ever coming out of the tunnel other than just I knew I was playing football.
So let me ask you this. Have you, during your years of playing football, I don't care if it's little league, middle school, high school, have you ever like not gotten in the game, but you dirtied up your uniform and told everybody you played? Because I used to do it all the time.
Man, you bringing back some memories. So no, I've never been in a game and not played. I started playing in the third grade. And I was the starting tailback my first year playing. So I've always played. But it's funny because, I don't know if when you were a kid, did you get the little makeshift football uniform for Christmas one year? You got the little football pants and a jersey. And you had a real thin
well, you know what? I got the little makeshift uniform. Mine had third string on it. And I'm like, damn.
So I had an older cousin, and we was just out on the side of the house playing. He had just started playing youth football, and then so I wasn't actually playing yet. So we were out there just playing around, horsing around. So he had me. He said we gotta get some marks on your helmet. So we took our helmets over there, and we was over there banging them up against the tree to get some marks off the tree bark, just so it looked like we had hit somebody.
Right. Well, so I'm sure your parents supported you playing football coming up in little league and high school. Did your parents ever get mad about a game? Because I remember my mom used to get mad all the time. Boy, we keep driving the foot, but you ain't getting in the game. We getting on our damn nerves. That happened the whole season, and I was like, yeah, she was pissed. Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, man. Like I just said, I never rode the bench. So the difference between you and me, Steve, is I was elite.
Well, I did. I rode it. I did.
Yeah,
I rode
he's
it.
fired back. That's what's going on.
It took the whole show, but I got him for you, Marvin.
You did. He got comfortable, Marvin.
Marvin, you shut the hell up. That's what
Hey, Steve, I've never rode a bench either, Steve. I don't know what that looked like.
Well, I did. Matter of fact, I laid down on it. I don't care. Judge me. I laid down on it. Judge me.
All right. We got a couple of questions, but Lamont, I want you to answer this one real quick because it's often debated. Bring back the white helmets, yes or no?
No.
I'm gonna say no. I never wore them, but I do remember Ray Perkins bringing them back for, I don't know if it was for the whole season or for a game or two. But no, I like the crimson helmets with the white stripe down the middle and the white numbers.
All right.
Don't change nothing about that uniform.
Again, be who you are.
Exactly.
Alabama football.
Don't change nothing. I remember they was coming up with all these different makeshift uniforms. Somebody came out with the houndstooth helmet and all of that. No, that's not Bama. Like Marvin said, be who you are.
You got to understand something. A lot of teams, when you're trying to compete and keep up with the Alabamas of the world, you're going to find other ways to do that Alabama or those schools aren't doing. You're going to try to be a little bit more unconventional. Let's give these kids some flashy, fancy uniforms. Let's try to appeal to the culture and see if we can potentially use that as the edge to lure them away from the programs like the Alabamas. But the bottom line is programs like Alabama, they're going to be who they are. And no matter what type of flashy, fancy uniforms you come out with, it's still Alabama. And you can't compete with that brand just because you have alternate uniforms.
Well, Mark, I don't even like the different color mouthpieces. I don't like none of that. I want it to be straight Bama. What you see is what you get.
I like the white uniforms. They're okay, but to me, there's nothing like those crimson uniforms with the crimson helmets under the lights. And it's a nice look.
The only change that they attempted that I was somewhat okay with, they had a houndstooth collar at one point, I think back in 2006. But other than that,
I've seen pictures of it, but I think it was so small you couldn't really see it.
Yeah, you can barely see it.
Yeah, okay, like the little design on the collar, the whole collar.
just on the collar, like the top part, there was a houndstooth outlining.
No.
All right, we got a couple of questions, and then we'll start winding down. First one goes to Christian Love. Lamonde, out of all the sports you played, which do you think was the hardest and why?
I think it's football, just because of the preparation. Just been out there in the heat, especially early on in the season with all those pads on. Man, I'm out there. Today it was 100 degrees, and so I'm just walking from my car into the house. And a lot of times, or I might be cutting the grass out in the heat. And a lot of times I was like, how in the hell was I out there practicing football for 3 hours with all that gear and equipment on, and how did we even survive? Because even when I started playing football, you get, 2 water breaks. It ain't like when we got to Alabama and they got the automatic machines that squirt the water in your mouth, and you can get it whenever you wanted it. In high school, you had 2 water breaks during practice. I think the coaches tried to use that to try to make you tough. But who knew they was probably putting you in harm's way of having a heat stroke, And I guess some people did, eventually die, and that's probably why they started changing some of that. Yeah. Oh, you had a heat stroke, Marvin? Yeah.
I remember the 2 times you can get water when you practice. I remember that because I was the one carrying the water. Look, that's a different story.
All right, we got
but
another
football
one.
for sure, just because of physicality and just that been out there in the heat of summer, before the season started.
Football is the only sport where someone is trying to kill you every play. You got on all this equipment outside in the heat. Now they wear all this equipment in hockey, but they're playing on ice.
Yeah.
Nobody's trying to kill you in basketball and baseball. Football is the only sport where they're trying to kill you every play.
And they're not getting locked up for it. It's legal. Yeah.
Yeah. Christian Love's got another one. I think I know the answer, but you may have a different one. Lamonde, who did you play with or against that seemed supernatural?
I'd have to say Derek Thomas and Keith McCants. Like I said, Derek in a different way. He was just cat quick, man, and just a super athlete. I saw him play some great games. We had the big game against Penn State at Legion Field where he had, I think it was Tony Sacca, and he had a bunch of sacks in that game. He took over what they call the Hurricane Bowl. I don't know if you remember Texas A&M. I think it was 87, 88 where we were supposed to play down there, but there was a pending hurricane. So Coach Curry said we weren't going to make the trip, and it ended up being nice weather down there, but we did make that game up at the end of the year, and Derek just took over that game. He could just take over a game on defense. But Keith McCants, again, he was just a specimen. He was a little bigger than Derek.
For real?
And, I've just seen him, tear. I think he got kicked out. I talked about Lower Gym earlier, where we used to train underneath the main Coliseum. I think Wimp Sanderson kicked him off from down there because he broke 2 goals slamming so hard on the rims down there. Yeah, so he got kicked out. And I remember, we used to play a lot of pickup basketball at the rec center, and I remember I threw him a pass one time, not knowing that he wanted me to throw him an alley-oop. So I threw him a bounce pass, and he had already jumped in the air, and he reached down by his waist and grabbed the ball while he was in the air and dunked it 2 hands backwards. I was like, man, this dude is a freaking picture. So Derek Thomas and Keith McCants probably supernatural.
Great answer. Ephraim, what do you think about the state of college football today?
Man, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what to think. It's just all over the map. And I honestly do not have a problem with players getting money. I wish, we got some money when I was playing, but
you did.
No, I didn't.
He got an at card.
You did. You damn sure did.
But I honestly don't have a problem with them getting money, but I just think they have to put some kind of rules in place, because I don't think the way that they're doing it is sustainable, in my opinion. And I think Charles Barkley even, was talking about it. I think when he was up here playing in the Regents tournament, they had interviewed him with one of the local news stations, and he said, I've probably given more money to Auburn legally and illegally.
I remember that.
And so, but he's like, if they can't keep asking me for millions of dollars every year, he's like, they got to do something. And so, I really don't know what to think about the climate. I really don't know what the future health of the college football programs are. But but I'm not optimistic about it if they don't put some kind of rules and regulations in place.
So did you get a lot of hardware from Bama, like rings or individual accolades?
I got one ring from that '89 season. We ended up actually co-champions of the SEC, and so we got an SEC championship ring that year. And it seems like we were real close every year. One loss always cost us every year.
Right. Because I remember the team I played on, they gave me a candy necklace, and I'm like, what the hell? Everybody else got rings. I got a candy necklace. I was like, damn.
And you probably ate that before the game was over, didn't you?
Man, no.
Before they came out of the tunnel.
No, I kept it, but I got sweaty and a lot of ants got on me, so I didn't know about that. It was so embarrassing.
All right, one last one. It's more of a statement. I think we can all echo this. Lamont from Kenafee. Lamont got to come back on.
Oh, well. If y'all have me, just hit me up anytime.
But even after experiencing all this, you're willing to come back.
Well, like I said, I'm not a big podcast guy, so I can honestly say I've never listened to the show, but I have never listened to any podcast show. But I do see some of y'all's highlights as I'm scrolling through Facebook and on the reels, and so I've seen some clips, but I've never, like listened or watched the show from start to finish. And y'all got a good cast of characters here. Y'all got the whole gamut covered, I think. So I've had a ball hanging out with y'all.
Hey man, you can come back and replace Marvin anytime. Replace his ass anytime you like.
You Marvin's Fury in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. I don't think you were on yet, Marvin, when he was talking about his trip to Costa Rica. So just tell him we're gonna ship him off down there with the monkeys if he don't behave.
They don't want him back. He's probably on their ban list.
Yeah.
The monkeys got on me down there.
Anyway, we're gonna have you back definitely during the season too. Be curious to get your thoughts, instant reactions from games and whatnot. So yeah, get used to it, brother. You'll be a regular with us, no doubt.
Well, just hit me up if I got the time. I'll be glad to.
No, make time. We're trying to get rid of Marvin. Make time.
Okay. All right. Hit me up and I will make the time. How about that, Steve?
Get rid of his thing.
Steve, this was actually an interview. He didn't know it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's an interview. Yes, you're hired. Thank you. And Marvin, speaking of you, we've been looking at your evaluation, and we're gonna have to let you go.
That's fine. That's fine.
It's not us. It's you. I mean, it's not you. All right, folks. We appreciate y'all being in the audience tonight. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for everyone tuning in. Before we go, I want to go around the room one more time and let our panel give their socials and how they can be found. We'll start out first with Marvin Constant, then go to Steve Brown, and then Stephen M. Smith, who is a very busy guy on this network and on our website. And then we'll let Lamont have the mic one last time.
And at home.
Oh.
You can find me on Instagram, Constant45. You can find me on X, Constant451. I'm always available.
All right, Steve.
That didn't sound convincing at all. Hey, I'm Steve Brown. You can follow me on Instagram, Comic Steve Brown. You can follow me on Facebook page, my Facebook fan page, Comedian Steve Brown. I will be in Augusta, Georgia this Friday at a club called Miami Vibes in Augusta, Georgia. How does he have that? Yeah, Miami Vibes. And then July 12th, I will be at the Bama Theater with the Q's of Comedy. Really big fundraiser, so y'all come check it out, man. Yeah, and of course, you can catch me every Tuesday right here on the Bama Standard, being the star of the show.
Always.
That's it. Thank you.
Stephen M. Smith, it's your comeback show. We greatly appreciate you being on. Before he goes, I want to let the audience know, stay tuned, because Reuben Foster is going to be on this show sometime soon. So get ready. Stephen M. Smith.
Oh, well.
Well, you can find me at Coaching M. Smith.
You. I did not ask for the stunt double. Not you right now. All right. You can find me, Coaching M. Smith, on Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, and Coaching M. Smith right there. You can find me on the Bama Standard Network, posting several stories right now. I'm actually working on finishing Mr. Thomas' statement of Florida State and then Danny Camilo's response. I'm actually finishing that up right now to post that. There was a big recruiting weekend on last week. Coach Saban took care of business, getting that story worked up there. So just doing some different writing here. You can also, as always, find me on Wednesday right here at Bama Vision, 9 o'clock in the morning. We taking over. Stephen A. Smith, go and get out the way.
Hello. And your big announcement. And you're what? And you're about to be what?
A father again. So,
yeah. So he
So
yes.
looking at this may be an Iron Bowl baby. So maybe an Iron Bowl baby right here.
Just tell your wife she has to wait till Sunday after.
Yeah.
Look. I can't control that now.
Somebody in the chat asked what happened to Marvin's fitness book. Well, we have to resend it back because it was a lot of misspelled words and run-on sentences. But
Right there, baby. Still holding.
pictures of everybody but Marvin. So listen,
we still holding, baby.
Yeah. So yeah.
And also chapter 12, you open it up, Jodeci starts playing, and there's a lot of inappropriate pictures.
Not Jodeci, man.
Hey man, thanks to chapter.
I know y'all want some of them. I know.
Yeah,
y'all want some.
Get the book. Thanks to chapter 5, I got man boobs and love handles. Chapter 5.
Lamont, last but not least, man, thank you so much again for being a part of our crew tonight. We definitely enjoyed it. It was worth the wait. Tell folks how they can find you. I know you mentioned you're on Facebook. Do you do any other social media, and what do you got coming up?
No, that's just it. I'm on Facebook, and I think you are allotted 5,000 friends. I'm at like 4,996, so I only got like 4 spaces left.
Uh-oh.
Hey man, well listen, you make sure you follow me. You follow me on MySpace. I'm gonna bring that back.
Yeah. Well, I'm old school. My wife been trying to get me on Twitter for a while. I was like, I don't need any more distractions, so I'm not on X. I'm not on which used to be Twitter. I'm not on Instagram or any of that. So yeah, just Facebook.
No TikTok dances. You're not on there?
Nah, none of that.
I mean, you used to dance pretty well when you scored a touchdown in that end zone. I remember.
Yeah. If you want to call that a dance, yeah.
I mean, I don't know who did it better, you or Kaylee.
Well, I actually got that from an NFL receiver named Reggie Langhorne. We had talked about, what we were going to do if we scored a touchdown in that bowl game. And I was like, I don't have any rhythm. I can't dance. I'm not embarrassing myself. And I saw Reggie Langhorne do that after he scored a touchdown. And I said, I can do that right there. So that's what I did.
Did it well for sure.
Yeah.
Folks, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I just remind you, we might be done, but the fun's not over, because at 8 p.m. Central, the Herb and Raj podcast will be going live. They're going to be giving an Oklahoma football preview. We got them on our schedule, so we got to talk about them. So tune in there. And also in the morning, as Stephen M. Smith said, get your coffee, get your eggs, pancakes, whatever it is you do in the morning. Join Stephen M. at 9 a.m. Central right here on the Bama Standard Network. Well, that's going to do it for all of us here. Thank you again. Thank you to my crew, the star of the show, for holding us up just yet again. We will see you next week for more Alabama football. Roll Tide, folks.
Roll Tide, people.
Roll Tide.